Everyone has a list of games that they keep recommending and nobody listens. Games that didn't get the marketing budget, didn't get the hype, didn't get the midnight launch queues. But the moment you actually sat down and played them, you understood. These are gonna be those games. Some of them are old, some of them you can probably find for about $2 or $3 in a sale right now. But all of them deserve more than they got. Let's start with something that doesn't feel like a game so much as it feels like an experience. Gris. Gris is visually one of the most stunning things ever put on a screen. Every single frame looks like a watercolor painting that took someone months to finish. The environments shift from grey and hollow to bursting with color as you move through the game, and that shift, it isn't just visual design, it is the whole story. There are no words, no dialogues, no cutscenes explaining what's happening. The world itself tells you everything you need to know and feel, and the music wraps around you like a blanket. The gameplay is gentle enough that it never stresses you out. There's no real way to die, no timer, no pressure, just you moving through one of the most beautiful worlds ever created, at whatever pace you feel is right. It calms something down in you. I don't know how else to say it, but you finish Gris and you feel quieter than when you started. If you've had a hard week and you want something that feels less like playing the game and more like sitting in a warm room with good music, this one's gonna be it for you. Okay, so this one genuinely surprised me. Going in, I didn't have huge expectations. Post apocalyptic world, two characters trying to survive. Seemed like loosely based on the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West. I mean, it sounds okay, but the thing about Enslaved is that it's one of those games where everything is just good. Not one thing is exceptional, but the way it all fits together is better than the sum of its parts. The combat is satisfying without being complicated. The puzzles make you think without making you want to throw your controller. And the world is genuinely interesting to say the least. This post apocalyptic Earth that's been reclaimed by nature, overgrown and wild, and somehow beautiful despite everything bad that's happened to it. But the real reason to play Enslaved is the relationship between the two main characters, Monkey and Trip. The dynamic between them, the tension, the dependency, the way it slowly shifts into something neither of them expected, it's written and performed better than most AAA games with 10 times the budget. Andy Serkis, the guy behind Golem and Caesar in Planet of the Apes, did the motion capture and voice for Monkey. And it shows. There's humanity to the performance that games rarely manage. But if you ask me if it's a perfect game, no, it is not. Is it a solid 7, maybe even a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 that you'll finish in a weekend and then think about it for a good long time right after? Absolutely. Okay, let me ask you something. What if you found a device that could age any object or person, forward or backwards in time? What if you could turn a grade of wood into splinters of dust, or pull a rusted door back to the moment it was brand new? That's Singularity. Released in 2010 by Raven Software, Singularity is one of those games that came out at exactly the wrong time. Sandwiched between bigger releases, barely even marketed, and quietly forgotten by most of the world, which is a genuine shame because the time manipulation mechanic at the heart of this game is one of the most creative and satisfying gameplay systems of its era. The story sends you to a secret Soviet island where experiments with a fictional element have caused time itself to fracture. What you find there, the logs, the echoes of the past bleeding into the present, the horror of what happened to the people who lived and worked on that island, is genuinely unsettling in the best way. The time manipulation device, or TMD, lets you age and de-age objects and enemies in real time. Rust a metal barrier into dust, age a soldier until he crumbles, restore a collapsed platform so you can cross it. It never stops being fun. The shooting is tight, the pacing is good, the atmosphere is thick with Cold War paranoia and something darker underneath it. If you like Bioshock, the setting, the mystery, the sense that something went catastrophically wrong here before you arrived, you will like Singularity. It's not as deep as Bioshock, but it's closer than most games ever got. This one genuinely makes me frustrated that more people haven't played it. As a fan of RPGs, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is one of the best RPGs of its generation, And because of business decisions that had nothing to do with the quality of the game itself, it launched but struggled commercially and the studio closed not long after. Which means most people missed it entirely. Here's what they missed: the combat in this game is fluid in a way that most action RPGs still haven't matched. You're not locked into a class. You can be a rogue who uses magic, a warrior who picks locks and disappears into shadows, a pure mage who gets in close and brawls. The fate system lets you bend your character in any direction at any time, and the combat feels responsive and satisfying whether you're alone in a dungeon or surrounded by a dozen enemies. The world is massive, the lore is deep. R.A. Salvatore, the author behind some of the most beloved fantasy novels ever written, built the entire history of this world from scratch, and you feel that weight in every corner of it. This isn't a world that was designed around the game, this is a world that existed and then a game was made inside it. And the story is genuinely interesting. You play as someone who has escaped fate entirely. In a world where destiny is fixed and known, you are the one person whose thread has been cut. The implications of that ripple through everything. And if you're like me who love deep RPGs, rich worlds, satisfying combat, and the feeling of losing a weekend entirely, then play Kingdoms of Amalur. Okay, this one is a little less underrated now. People have come around on it, and rightfully so, but it still doesn't get mentioned in the same breath as the all time great shooters. And it absolutely should. The campaign of Titanfall 2 is one of the best designed first person shooter campaigns ever made. Period. The level design is endlessly creative. There's a mission involving time travel between a present and past version of the same facility that is genuinely one of the greatest individual levels in any shooter ever created. The movement system, wall running, sliding, the speed, and the flow of traversal feels better than almost anything before or since. And once it clicks, once your body understands the rhythm of it, you feel unstoppable. And the relationship between your pilot and your Titan, BT-7274, there's a warmth and a heart to it that nobody expected from a multiplayer first shooter. And if for some reason you haven't played the campaign, stop everything and go play it this weekend. It's short, it's perfect, and you will not regret a single second out of it. Here's one that genuinely deserved better than it got. Remember Me came out in 2013 from Don't Not Entertainment, the same studio that would later go on to make Life is Strange. And if you know Life is Strange, you can already feel the DNA of it in what Remember Me was trying to do. You play as Nilan, a memory hunter who has had her own memories wiped and is fighting to get them back. The world is built around a corporation called Memorize that has commercialized human memory. People sell their memories, share them, re-experience them, and Nilan can do something nobody else can. She can reach into someone's memory and remix it, change what happened, rewrite the emotional truth of a moment until the person remembers something that never occurred. The combat is combo based and lets you build your own combo strings, which was a genuinely innovative system, I felt. The game isn't perfect, the story loses its footing a little toward the end, but the world, the concept, the visual design of Neo Paris, and the memory remix sequences are worth the price of admission alone. This is a game that was ahead of its time and didn't get the audience it deserved. Truly. When people talk about racing games, the conversation almost always goes the same way. Need for Speed for the street culture and the customization, Forza Horizon for the open world and the sheer variety, Mario Kart if you want to throw a blue shell at a friend and end the friendship. But nobody talks about Blur. Blur took everything that makes arcade racing fun: fast cars, tight tracks, that feeling of barely staying in control, and added a power up system that felt genuinely tactical rather than random. You weren't just racing, you were managing a set of weapons and abilities in real time while also driving at speed. Nitro boost, shields, mines, shockwaves, and crucially, knowing when to use each one, when to hold the shield for the corner you knew was coming, when to save your boost for the final straight. That was a skill. It rewarded you for being smart and not just fast. The tracks were real locations pushed to the most exciting extremes. So if you want a racing game that feels genuinely different from everything else on the shelf, find Blur. It holds up better, way better than you expect. This one is complicated, and I mean that as a compliment. Alpha Protocol is a spy RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, the studio behind Fallout New Vegas, Knights of the Old Republic, and the Outer Worlds. Obsidian makes games about choice, consequence, and moral ambiguity. You play as Michael Thornton, a rogue CIA operative trying to uncover a conspiracy that goes higher than he expected. Standard spy thriller setup, right? Except the way you play it is anything but standard. Every conversation in this game is a choice, not just what you say, but how you say it. You can be aggressive, professional, or flirtatious. You can intimidate, manipulate, or charm. And the people you interact with remember everything. An enemy you spared early in the game might help you or come back to hurt you later. An ally you were cold to might withdraw support at the worst possible moment. The web of consequences in Alpha Protocol is deeper than almost any game before or since. Playthroughs diverge significantly based on decisions that felt small at the time. Characters live and die based on how you handled a conversation hours earlier. But is the shooting a little rough? Yes. Is the stealth system a little bit clunky? Also, yes. But if you can look past the mechanical roughness and engage with what this game is actually doing, building a spy thriller that reacts to your personality rather than your combat choices, you will find one of the most genuinely reactive RPG experiences ever made. But it never got a sequel, it probably never will. What we have is a flawed, fascinating, one of a kind game that nobody made anything quite like before or after. Alright, this one is for a specific kind of person. If you grew up in the era of point and click adventure games, the games where you sit at a computer for hours, clicking on everything, picking up objects that seem useless, combining them in your inventory until something clicked and you felt like the smartest person alive, then you know exactly the kind of joy this game carries. Treasures of the Mystery Island, the Ghost Ship. It's old, it's not graphically impressive by any modern standards, and it is not going to win awards for its writing. But what it does, what all great puzzle games of this era did, is give you that feeling, that specific feeling of a puzzle finally unlocking after you have sat with it for 20 minutes. The pieces coming together. The realization that the rusty key you picked up in the second room was always meant for the lock in the seventh. That click of understanding that makes you feel genuinely accomplished in a way that very few modern games bother to create. There's a ghost to collect around every corner, a mystery unfolding, one solved puzzle at a time. I played this game as a kid, and I've finished this more times than I can remember. Hunting every ghost, solving every puzzle. And if you have to, then you already know what I'm talking about. Some games aren't about spectacle, they're about that quiet satisfaction of figuring something out. And this one delivers it every single time. Let me be clear about something before I say anything else about this game. Sleeping Dogs is not GTA in Hong Kong. I know that's the comparison people reach for, but if you go in expecting GTA, you're gonna miss out what actually makes this game special. Because Sleeping Dogs, it has its own identity, its own soul, and that soul is deeply, specifically Hong Kong. The combat in this game is some of the best hand to hand combat in any open world game ever made. It's based on martial arts, fluid, brutal, contextual. You grab an enemy and slam them into a wall, into a fish tank, onto a spike. The environment is a weapon, every fight feels physical and earned in a way that GTA's combat never really managed. The game's about an undercover cop who grew up in the streets, trying to bring down the triads while being pulled deeper into their world than his bosses ever intended. The tension between who he is professionally and who he is becoming personally runs through everything. The city of Hong Kong is rendered with genuine love and attention. The markets, the neon, the wet streets at night, the food stalls, it feels like a place, not a backdrop. The game, it's getting more recognition now, yes, and it deserves every bit of it. But there's still a whole generation of players who haven't touched this game, and that's a genuine loss. If you want an open world game that does something GTA doesn't even try to do, you should play Sleeping Dogs.